2023's The Machine follows comedian Bert Kreischer, whose drunken past catches up with him when he and his father are kidnapped and taken to Europe, where he must recover a pocket watch he stole 20 years ago while drunk on a college semester abroad. And in the cast, we have the Machine himself, Bert Kreischer, playing Bert Kreischer. We also have Jimmy Tatro playing the young version of Bert Kreischer. Mark Hamill plays Bert's father, Albert. We have Eva Babick playing Irina. And Robert Masser plays the main villain of the film, Alexei. Now, before I officially start my review, I wanted to start by saying this. I am a fan of Bert Kreischer. For those of you who aren't familiar with who Bert Kreischer is, or The Machine, they are the same person. The Machine, or Bert Kreischer, whichever you'd like to call him, is a stand-up comedian. He also has numerous podcasts he's either been on or a part of. But the thing he is most commonly known for is this stand-up bit that he has where he talks about this trip that he took to a certain place I can't really talk about because of certain things that are happening in the world right now. But essentially that story, which I would highly recommend you go check out after this video, is what inspired this movie here. Getting into the review, I enjoyed seeing Bert on the big screen, and it seems like he's having such a fun time making this movie, along with the supporting cast as well. I love the fact that Mark Hamill is playing Bert's father. I've heard a lot about Bert's father over the years from the podcast, but to have somebody like Mark Hamill be playing his father in a movie like this is just comedy gold. But honestly, the biggest standout from the cast from this movie, aside from Bert, is Eva Babick. Her character of Irina, hopefully I'm saying that name right, not only kicks some butt, but is also hilarious and even has some more heartfelt moments. Which leads me to this movie has a surprising amount of heart for a movie that I thought would just be straight up action, violence, comedy. There's plot lines in there having to do with fathers and sons, as well as fathers and daughters. Those emotional elements added to the movie actually added quite a bit. Those elements were very much a surprise to me, and I'd say for the most part they're a very welcome surprise. Now I can't talk about this movie or Bert Kreischer without talking about comedy. The comedy in this movie does work for me for the most part. When the comedy lands, it really lands and really works, and when it doesn't, it falls very flat and makes the film feel a little underwhelming. But I'll touch on that a little bit more in just a sec. The other thing I wanted to talk about is the action. This movie isn't an all-out action gore fest. It definitely has its moments where it'll shock you, but compared to something like maybe John Wick 4, for example, this movie here is really not breaking any new grounds. That being said, I still had fun with it. I still had fun seeing Bert kick some butt. I had a lot of fun seeing Eva Babick kick butt. I think the fight choreography surprisingly worked very well when it came to Bert. He actually picked it up very quickly, which honestly shouldn't surprise me because look at this dance video from a few years ago. Yeah, Bert's got some moves not only with dancing, but also with punching and kicking and flipping and all sorts of stuff. And sure, some of it was probably done with some stunt doubles and done with some camera trickery, but it really does seem like Bert was putting everything on the line, and you gotta appreciate him for that. Kind of like the comedy, when the action works, it really works, and when it doesn't, it doesn't. I've pretty much said all I can say about the positives for now, so let's get into some negatives I have with the film. Starting with the action and comedy, the positives double as negatives. I feel like when it comes to the action and comedy, it works sometimes, but when it doesn't, it's just because it's not pushing the envelope enough. This is an R-rated movie, yet it felt like they were afraid to do certain things for whatever reason. I would actually say the R rating for this movie mostly comes from the language and not the actual violence itself, but the violence definitely does play a part. And as far as the comedy, I feel like they weren't pushing the envelope enough. I feel like they weren't being edgy enough. I don't want the film to be a complete edge fest. I don't want all edgy humor all the time. But I've seen Bert's material, and he definitely pushes the envelope and says some slightly offensive stuff sometimes, but at the end of the day, a lot of what he ends up saying is funny. There's even a small part of the machine joke that I was talking about in the beginning that they played in the intro of the film that, for understandable reasons, they cut out. It's definitely an offensive part of the joke, but at the same time, if you're gonna make a movie about a stand-up comedian, and especially make a movie about the Machine of all people, I feel like you kinda gotta go there at times. And the last negative I have is I really didn't get invested in this movie until about halfway through, so maybe about an hour into it. The film is 2 hours and 53 minutes long. The fact that it took it that long for me to really get invested is not a good thing. But at the same time, I feel like I had certain expectations going into it that maybe weren't the most realistic, but nevertheless, it is still a complaint. It really took me a while to get used to the tone of the movie. It doesn't really take itself seriously, but it has some more serious elements to it. So yes, while I do like some of those more emotional elements to it, it's a little bit predictable and also hard to take it completely seriously with everything else going on in the film. Last thing I'll say, it's not really a positive or a negative. It's the fact that this movie came out at a really bad time. The setting of this movie is in a place that I don't really want to talk about on the channel because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube for even mentioning the name of this country, but the fact that this movie was released during this time just really feels like bad timing to me. I don't know if the studio just really wanted to push it out there, or if Bert really wanted to just push it out there, or if they really just couldn't wait. But regardless, I think it's definitely going to mess with the box office. On top of that, you have it coming out the same week as The Little Mermaid, so I honestly don't think people are going to be going to see this movie as much as they're going to be going to see that one. That being said, I still hope this movie makes money. I still hope the fans of Bert Kreischer go to see this in theaters. As a fan personally, I had a good time just seeing Bert on the big screen. That's basically all I wanted from the movie, and that's what I got, so I really can't complain too much. But when it comes to my ranking, 2023's The Machine is going to be ranked twice. The first time is for the Bert Kreischer fans, which includes myself, and the second time is critically. So for the Bert Kreischer fans out there, I'm going to go ahead and give 2023's The Machine a standard ticket. Any fan of Bert Kreischer should definitely go see this on the big screen. And critically, I'm going to give 2023's The Machine a discounted ticket. If you're not really a fan of Bert Kreischer or have no idea who he is, there might be some enjoyment you'll still get out of this movie, but a lot of the enjoyment does come from being familiar with his work. Which, if you're not familiar with Bert Kreischer's work, I'd highly recommend going over to Netflix and watching one of his specials over there. You could also stay right here on YouTube and head over to the YMH Studios channel. I can't remember for sure if his podcast Bertcast is on that channel, but that is one of the podcasts he has. He also has a podcast with his friend Tom Segura called Two Bears, One Cave, which I just referenced previously. But over all of that, I would definitely recommend checking out The Machine story. But let me know down in the comments below, have you seen 2023's The Machine? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Are you in the middle? Have you not seen it? Are you planning on watching it anytime soon? Why or why not? But that's the end of the video. I want to thank you all for watching. Go ahead and leave me a like on this video, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I will see you in the next one.